INFJs are often called the rarest personality type in the world. But here's the thing, rarity isn't the gift. What makes INFJs truly powerful are the hidden abilities they don't even know they carry. Today, I'm exposing 10 of those rare INFJ gifts, things that sound almost unbelievable until you realize, if you're an INFJ, you've probably been doing them your whole life without even noticing. Let's dive in. Alright, first thing first, storytelling that teaches without preaching. Most people give advice by telling you what to do. But INFJs, they do something far more powerful. They teach through stories. Instead of saying you should leave that toxic relationship, an INFJ might share a quiet story about someone who rediscovered their strength after walking away. By the end, you connect the dots yourself, and the lesson feels like your own discovery. Here's the viral twist. This ability is why people often describe INFJs as wise beyond their years. They don't force their views, they weave them into narratives, metaphors, and gentle examples. And the impact is so much stronger because people don't feel lectured. They feel enlightened. Psychologists call this indirect communication, and it's one of the most effective teaching methods. Humans are wired to respond to stories. Our brains light up with empathy and emotional memory when we hear them. That's why INFJs can say less and achieve more. Their advice sticks because it doesn't feel like advice at all. It feels like a revelation. But here's the controversial part. Because INFJs are so good at this, people often forget how much effort it takes. Crafting the right story, sensing the right timing, and delivering it with empathy requires enormous emotional energy. And yet, INFJs rarely take credit for it. They think they're just sharing thoughts, when in reality, they're changing lives. So let me ask you, have you ever walked away from a conversation with someone, only to realize days later that their story completely shifted your perspective? That's not luck. That's the INFJ gift of storytelling, teaching without preaching, guiding without controlling, and leaving lessons that last a lifetime. And next up, creating worlds inside their minds. Daydreaming is often misunderstood. Teachers call it a distraction. Bosses see it as laziness, and society labels it as wasting time. But for INFJs, daydreaming isn't an escape, it's a rare form of imagination that acts like a supercomputer for problem solving. Inside their minds, INFJs build entire worlds. They run simulations of conversations, test different outcomes of choices, and even imagine alternate futures in vivid detail. What looks like spacing out to everyone else is actually mental preparation. By the time a real-life challenge arrives, they've already rehearsed 10 different scenarios in their head. Here's the viral twist. This ability makes INFJs seem uncannily prepared. They'll offer the perfect piece of advice, predict exactly how someone will react, or come up with creative solutions no one else even thought of. And the secret? They didn't figure it out in the moment. They had already seen it play out in their inner world. Psychologists call this prospection, the ability to imagine and plan for future possibilities. For most people, it's limited, but INFJs take it to another level, weaving emotional intelligence with creative visualization to form ideas that feel almost prophetic. It's the same reason so many INFJs thrive as writers, artists, or visionaries. Their inner worlds don't just entertain them, they feed the real world with ideas ahead of their time. But here's the controversial part. Because INFJs live so much in these inner simulations, reality can feel disappointing. They may compare real-life experiences to the vivid worlds in their imagination and feel like something is missing. This gift, while powerful, can also leave them feeling isolated, like no one else lives in color the way they do. So tell me this, have you ever been accused of zoning out, only to come back with an insight that blows everyone away? That's not distraction. That's the rare INFJ ability to create entire worlds inside the mind, and to bring pieces of those worlds into reality. Third on the list, the paradox of being invisible but unforgettable. Here's one of the strangest paradoxes about INFJs. They often feel invisible. In group settings, they fade into the background, quietly observing while louder personalities take the spotlight. People might overlook them in the moment, forgetting their name, their outfit, or even the fact that they were in the room at all. But here's the viral twist. While INFJs feel invisible in the present, they're unforgettable in the long run. Long after the conversation ends, people remember how the INFJ made them feel. They remember the sense of being understood, the subtle comfort, or that one piercing insight that cuts straight to the heart of the matter. Psychologists call this the peak end rule. We don't remember every detail of an interaction, but we remember the most emotionally powerful moments. And INFJs, without even realizing it, create those moments for people. They leave emotional fingerprints that linger far longer than surface impressions ever could. But here's the controversial part. Because INFJs underestimate their own impact, they often believe they don't matter as much as others. They think they've gone unnoticed, when in reality, their quiet influence is echoing in the minds of the people they've touched. They don't always see the ripple effect, but it's there, shaping lives in ways they'll never fully know. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had someone pop into your mind years later? Not because of what they did, but because of how they made you feel. That's the INFJ paradox. Invisible in the moment, unforgettable in memory. And that rare gift is what makes them quietly legendary. Fourthly, turning pain into purpose. Here's something most people don't realize about INFJs. Pain doesn't just wound them, it reshapes them. While other personality types may try to ignore their struggles or numb them away, INFJs absorb their pain, examine it, and then quietly transform it into wisdom. Think about it. When an INFJ experiences heartbreak, betrayal, or failure, they don't just ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What does this mean, and how can I grow from it?" This isn't just coping, it's alchemy. They take something dark, heavy, and deeply personal, and they recycle it into a kind of emotional fuel that not only heals them, but often lights the way for others. And here's where it gets controversial. Because INFJs don't always realize they're doing this. They may believe they're just surviving, when in reality they're performing one of the rarest psychological transformations, turning wounds into wisdom. It's the reason so many INFJs are drawn to roles as counselors, teachers, writers, or activists. Their deepest scars become their strongest tools for connection. Psychologists have a term for this: post-traumatic growth. While many people are crushed by trauma, INFJs often find meaning within it. They don't just bounce back, they bounce forward, carrying insights that can guide others through their own struggles. To the INFJ, this feels like empathy. To everyone else, it looks like magic, because an INFJ can take a story of suffering and turn it into a roadmap for hope. But here's the hidden cost. Because INFJs transform their pain so well, they often underestimate just how much they've endured. They minimize their struggles, not realizing that most people wouldn't have survived them, let alone turn them into something positive. What others see as resilience, INFJs often dismiss as just doing what I had to do. So let me ask you, have you ever noticed how an INFJ's advice often comes with a quiet depth, like they've been through exactly what you're going through, even if they never admit it out loud? That's because they probably have, and they've already turned that pain into purpose, one of the rarest gifts they don't even know they have. Fifthly, making people feel seen instantly. There's something almost magical about INFJs. When you meet one, you can feel it instantly. You feel seen, not just noticed, but understood in a way that cuts deeper than casual conversation ever should. It's why strangers often open up to INFJs within minutes. Someone who barely knows them will suddenly confess their biggest fears, darkest secrets, or most personal struggles. And afterwards they'll say, "I don't know why I told you that." But the truth is, the INFJ created a space where they felt safe enough to let down their walls. Here's the viral twist. While others fight to be the loudest voice in the room, INFJs influence people by doing the opposite. They don't overwhelm you with their presence, they hold it. They radiate authenticity, and in a world full of masks, that authenticity is magnetic. People crave it because it's so rare. Psychologists point to a concept called unconditional positive regard. The ability to accept and value someone without judgment. Therapists are trained to do this, but INFJs do it naturally. Their empathy isn't just about listening, it's about reflecting back a sense of worth and validation. And once people feel it, they don't forget it. But here's the controversial side. This gift can drain INFJs completely, because when you're constantly carrying other people's confessions and emotional baggage, it starts to feel like you're living multiple lives at once, your own plus everyone else's. This is why INFJs need solitude, not because they dislike people, but because they need to release all the emotions they've absorbed. So let me ask you, have you ever met someone who made you feel more seen in 5 minutes than your friends did in 5 years? Chances are, you met an INFJ. And that's one of their rarest, most unforgettable gifts, the power to make people feel truly seen. 6 on the list, the gift of seeing patterns others miss. While most people see chaos, INFJs see connections. Imagine walking into a crowded room where conversations overlap, emotions clash, and personalities collide. To the average person, it feels noisy and random, but to an INFJ, it's a silent web of patterns waiting to be understood. INFJs naturally notice the little things, the repeated phrases someone uses, the hesitation before a smile, the way people gravitate toward or avoid certain topics. While everyone else is caught up in the surface-level moment, INFJs are subconsciously piecing together the hidden motives and future consequences. This ability feels so natural to them that they often forget how rare it actually is. Here's where it gets controversial, because when INFJs share their insights, people sometimes react with discomfort or even suspicion. They'll say things like, "That's creepy, how could you possibly know that?" But what looks like mind reading is actually deep pattern recognition. Psychologists call this introverted intuition, a rare cognitive function that allows INFJs to unconsciously connect dots others don't even see. This gift explains why INFJs often sense the bigger picture long before it's visible. They'll warn a friend about a toxic relationship months before it explodes, or predict how a group project will fail because of one subtle dynamic no one else noticed. And when their predictions come true, it can feel eerie, almost supernatural. But for INFJs, it's simply the way their mind works. Here's the twist. While others might dismiss this ability as overthinking, for INFJs it's not just observation, it's survival. Their brain is constantly running silent simulations, predicting outcomes and preparing responses. This makes them incredible strategists, but it can also feel like a heavy burden. After all, seeing patterns no one else sees can make you feel isolated, even alienated, as though you're playing a game everyone else doesn't realize they're in. So tell me, have you ever been called paranoid or too intense, only for your prediction to turn out exactly right? If so, that wasn't paranoia. That was the rare INFJ gift of pattern recognition. An invisible superpower most of them don't even realize they possess. And seventhly, the power of silent persuasion. Most people think persuasion belongs to salesmen, politicians, or influencers with millions of followers. But INFJs hold one of the rarest forms of influence, and it's almost invisible. They persuade without force, without volume, and often without even realizing it. Here's the secret. While others use flashy words or dominating energy, INFJs rely on presence. They listen deeply, and when they finally speak, their words carry weight because they aren't scattered. They're precise. Imagine spending an hour venting to someone, and instead of giving you a lecture, they say one simple line that shifts your entire perspective. That's an INFJ's superpower. And here's where it gets controversial. Because this isn't persuasion in the manipulative sense, it's persuasion through trust. People instinctively lower their guard around INFJs. They feel heard, validated, and safe. And in that state of openness, even a subtle suggestion can reframe how they see the world. Some might call that gentle influence. Others might call it quiet power. Psychologists talk about the law of reciprocity, the idea that when someone gives us genuine attention, we feel compelled to give something back. INFJs naturally activate this law without tricks or gimmicks. By simply giving their presence, they gain an unusual level of influence over people's decisions and emotions. But here's the paradox. INFJs rarely see this as power. They underestimate how much they shape the people around them because, to them, it feels natural to listen deeply and speak carefully. Yet when you look closely, you'll notice people often walk away from an INFJ conversation making different choices than they came in with. So tell me, have you ever noticed how a quiet person with just a few words can change the entire mood of a room? That's silent persuasion in action. And for INFJs, it's one of the rarest gifts they don't even realize they've been using all along. Eighthly, emotional X-ray vision. Most people only listen to words. But INFJs? They listen to the silence between the words. When someone says, "I'm fine," an INFJ hears the pause, notices the slight tension in the jaw, and feels the shift in energy that betrays the truth. This is what I call emotional X-ray vision. While others are distracted by the surface, INFJs are tuned in to the hidden layers of communication, tone, body language, micro-expressions, and even the emotions people are trying to bury. It's not just empathy. It's a subconscious ability to read emotional patterns that others can't even detect. Here's where it gets controversial. Because sometimes, INFJs know things about people that those people haven't even admitted to themselves. They can sense dishonesty before it's spoken, sadness behind a smile, or attraction that hasn't been confessed. And while some people find this deeply comforting, others find it unsettling, even intimidating to be seen so clearly. Psychologists call this high emotional intelligence, but with INFJs it goes a step further. It isn't just awareness, it's instinct. Studies show that only a small percentage of people can detect lies or hidden emotions with accuracy, but INFJs are naturally wired for it. That's why friends, strangers, and even total acquaintances often confess things to them out of nowhere. On some level, people can feel that the INFJ already knows the truth. But here's the shadow side of this gift. Because they read emotions so well, INFJs can feel overwhelmed, even burdened by what they pick up. They often absorb the unspoken pain of others, carrying it like it's their own. That's why they need solitude, not to escape people, but to release the weight of all those silent truths they've been holding. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had someone say, "How did you know that about me? I never told anyone"? Chances are that person was talking to an INFJ. And that's the rare gift of emotional X-ray vision, a gift so powerful it can feel like a blessing and a curse at the very same time. Ninthly, the unsettling ability to predict outcomes. Here's where INFJs start to feel almost supernatural. They often make predictions that come true with eerie accuracy. They'll casually say, "That friendship won't last," or "You're going to regret taking that job." And months later, the situation unfolds exactly as they said. To outsiders, this feels unsettling, even creepy. Some people joke that INFJs must be psychic. But here's the truth. It's not magic. It's a rare mental process called introverted intuition. While most people are focused on the present moment, INFJs are constantly running silent calculations, connecting past experiences, subtle patterns, and emotional cues to project the most likely future outcome. This is why INFJs often feel like they can see around corners. They notice the red flags in a new relationship that others ignore. They pick up on shifts in a workplace dynamic that signal conflict long before it erupts. And when they share their predictions, they're often dismissed as being pessimistic, until reality catches up and proves them right. But here's the controversial part. This gift can feel like both a blessing and a curse. Because while it gives INFJs incredible foresight, it also makes them anxious. Knowing how things are likely to end can take the fun out of beginnings. It can make relationships feel fragile, jobs feel temporary, and opportunities feel like risks waiting to collapse. Psychologists suggest that intuition at this level is the brain's way of protecting us from danger, constantly scanning for threats and preparing for possible outcomes. For INFJs, though, the volume is turned all the way up. They don't just imagine what might happen, they often feel like they've already seen it. So let me ask you, have you ever predicted something so accurately it shocked even you? If you have, then you've experienced the unsettling INFJ ability to see the future written in the present. It's not fortune-telling, it's foresight. And it's one of the rarest gifts an INFJ carries, often without realizing it. And last but not least, holding space for chaos. When everything around them falls apart, most people panic. Emotions explode, voices rise, and chaos takes over. But INFJs are different. In the middle of the storm they stay calm, almost unnervingly calm. This gift is more than just keeping a straight face. INFJs have a rare ability to absorb the emotional chaos of others without losing their own center. When friends fight, families break down, or someone is drowning in grief, people instinctively turn to the INFJ. Why? Because they sense an anchor, a grounded presence that won't be swept away. Here's the viral twist. INFJs don't always realize how powerful this is. While others are flustered or overwhelmed, the INFJ can sit in the tension, hold space for it, and make others feel like everything will be okay. This is why INFJs are often seen as the calm in the storm. Their quiet energy doesn't just soothe, it transforms the environment. Psychologists link this to something called affect labeling, the ability to regulate emotions by identifying and holding them instead of reacting impulsively. INFJs do this instinctively, both for themselves and for others. While most people try to escape emotional chaos, INFJs lean in and stabilize it. But here's the controversial part. Because they're so good at holding other people's chaos, INFJs often forget to release it. They carry unspoken stress, unresolved grief, and hidden pain that isn't even theirs. Over time, this can leave them feeling drained, heavy, and in desperate need of solitude to recharge. So let me ask you, have you ever noticed how, during a crisis, one quiet person seems to hold the entire group together without saying much at all? That's not coincidence. That's the INFJ gift of holding space for chaos, a rare ability that makes them the anchor everyone clings to when the storm hits. So there you have it, 10 rare INFJ gifts most of them don't even realize they have. Some of these gifts feel like blessings, others like burdens, but together they explain why INFJs are so rare and unforgettable. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these INFJ gifts do you recognize in yourself? Or maybe in someone you know? Do you see them as blessings or curses? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you found yourself nodding along today, hit that like button so more INFJs find this video, and subscribe for more deep dives into psychology and personality. Until next time, stay rare, stay powerful, and remember, sometimes the gifts you don't notice are the ones that make you unforgettable.